Fan violence is a major problem that has existed for years. In the 1934 World Series, Detroit fans pelted Cardinal outfielder Ducky Medwick with garbage. It forced Commissioner Kennesaw Mountain Landis to take Medwick out of the game for his own safety. But in recent years, it has really become vicious. It seemed to get out of control after the last out of the 1969 World Series, when the New York Mets won the championship. And what should have been a joyous occasion in the '76 playoffs became a frightening one for Chris Chambliss after his game-winning homer.
At first, there was jubilation, coming around first base because I had known what had happened and what it meant. But coming around second base, it became terror. You see all these people. And really, my main objective at that time was to get into the dugout.
And in the '77 World Series, Reggie Jackson literally ran for his life. Fan violence is a growing problem in the U.S., but it's worse in Europe. Spanish soccer star Juanito left a World Cup soccer match in Belgrade, Yugoslavia last fall and met with this. When fans come to this, it threatens the very foundation of what sports should be, and something has to be done about it.
Good afternoon. This is Sam Nover for NBC Sports Journal. No one questions that fan violence is a very complex issue. In many ways, in fact, it is a direct reflection of society's problems.
Why do we have increasing violence in our society? Because what you have here is nothing more than an importation of society's problems into our ballpark. And perhaps we can fairly say that perhaps the problem isn't as evident in our ballpark as it is in the streets of the cities in general.
We are not going to solve society's problems on a Sunday afternoon, but there seems to be a couple of recurring themes when you discuss fan violence.
What about alcohol, Commissioner Roselle?
Obviously, that causes problems. We had a Monday night game in New England. It was bad from that standpoint, and I think it was a 9 o'clock starting time, and I think that a lot of people forgot eating and just made it an extended cocktail period, and there was considerable there were considerable number of problems with that one.
I would say that liquor is by far the biggest problem faced by any stadium. People come to the games. It's part of a tradition that you bring a flask along or whatever you bring into the game, and it certainly is a part of the tradition of New England football.
Fan violence is heightened by alcohol. People running on the field, fights breaking out after games. It even came to the point where an NFL official was hit on the head by a bottle in a playoff game. Reprehensible conduct in any terms. TV Guide reported that the problem became so bad at night football games, the New England Patriots and Buffalo Bills requested the league not to schedule them on Monday nights. But Commissioner Roselle told me there was no formal request. Since the last Monday night game 2 seasons ago, stringent security measures have been imposed at Foxborough. This at a stadium named after a beer company. The measures include body frisking, checking of packages, and examining all clothing. The most stringent security measures in the league.
There's no liquor allowed in the stadium.
Most sports have had their share of problems with violent fans. During a beer night promotion in Cleveland, more than 50 people were arrested after they attacked the players on the field. And as a result, the Indians forfeited the game.
It's statistically known in doubleheaders, in long summer doubleheaders, where the consumption gets greater as the day goes on, plus the heat, the guy starts getting drunk.
Drinking is always a problem. For some reason or other, when people drink, they either become lovers or fighters. And in the ballpark, there's no room to make love, so they start fighting. Now, some of the best fights we saw recently in the stands were the Red Sox-Yankees games. For some reason or other, it draws a very young, beer-drinking crowd.
There would seem to be an easy solution to this aspect of the problem. Simply prohibit alcohol.
You say to yourself, what's the solution? Don't sell beer, or be a little more rigid in your control of whom you sell the beer to. But the answer to that is the ball club makes money selling beer, and they're not going to stop making money selling beer if it's at all possible.
I don't mind people bringing liquor into this stadium because as long as they are not abusive to our other fans, if they come in, if they can control themselves, if they come here to enjoy themselves, then that's what they're paying their money to do.
And that old demon rum isn't the only contributor to fan violence. There are others.
The
the nature of the arena in which the sporting event takes place can have some effect upon fan violence. The closer people are to the playing field, the closer people are to players, the greater is the likelihood one may see an incident. So I think that the physical surroundings either enhance or do not enhance the possibility of violent events.
In this country, the fan on the field, for the most part, is considered a kook. But in other countries, it's a much more severe problem. Following one soccer match, 2 referees were killed, and after yet another, 2 were not. And in England, an extremist group has recruited soccer rowdies for much more frightening uses, to be used in violent political demonstrations. They feel they understand the reasons for fan violence.
I think there's a lot you can do with a soccer hooligan. I think that people resort to mindless violence and vandalism because they have not been given by society a point and a meaning to their lives. People do like to identify, they do like to associate themselves with something which is big and glorious and noble, which they, the little individual, can associate themselves with and feel proud that they somehow belong. And we feel that the very, very fanatical adulation by supporters with their particular club is a sort of sublimated patriotism.
So it's a case of Millwall today and National Front tomorrow?
We hope so.
Is derived from the word fanatic. Fanatical fans may be the rule rather than the exception. In Buenos Aires now and for the upcoming World Cup soccer matches, security is ready. Barbed wire fences, police dogs and armed military police. And alcohol has been outlawed. Maybe they've gone that final step to keep the fans from the players. The ultimate separation of the biggest sporting event in the rest of the world will be moats. The question is, are we next?
I don't think we're coming to crocodiles as a mean for controlling the situation. I don't mean to minimize it. It's a problem, and we obviously are concerned about it. But I think it's a very controllable problem, and in the years I've been commissioner, while we have seen problems here and there, I don't think they've changed in degree very markedly, although I do think there has been some increase.
I think that if we ever had the capability on these big scoreboards to have very clear instant replays, and you were to throw up something that wasn't seen, in other words, a fumble the officials didn't see and the call went against the home team in a key game, you had emotions high, I think I'd like to see a moat.
Whether or not moats become part of the American sports scene, fan violence is a deeply rooted, complex sociological problem. It is inflamed by alcohol and encouraged by the proximity of the fans to the players. And many people tell us it may be the result of this. The violence that the fans see on the playing field. Next week, NBC Sports Journal takes a look at that issue. This is Sam Nova reporting.
Around Sunnyside, Utah, it's hard to believe there could ever be too much water. But at Kaiser Steel Corporation's coal mines, underground water can make mining all but impossible. They have to pump out 3 million gallons a day. The pumping's done by rugged submersible flight pumps developed by the people of ITT. These ITT pumps run continuously. Some have been at it 12 years, hauling water through 1,000 miles of pipes. Some of the water's used right at the mining machines to keep down the coal dust. But most of the water is sent up top by those ITT pumps and saved for the town. Around Sunnyside, they need all the water they can get.
Now, this here's an oil for you and me from the good oil boys at STP. 15,000 miles it goes, and that's some oil. Goodness knows.
This STP motor oil is a good oil made great with a special blend of additives. Goes 15,000 miles between changes. That's a mighty long way. But STP wanted your car to have their best at a price that's best for you.
You get this oil naturally from the good oil boys at STP.
You have to be dedicated, demanding, driven. It took Datsun to design the one and only King Cab. Up to 11 cubic feet of storage behind the seats. Try finding that in any other small pickup.
Nobody demands more from a Datsun than Datsun. We are driven.
Keep on thinking big, Datsun.
Next Sunday, NBC Sports World will continue its coverage of the World Cup of Gymnastics as Lisa Cawthron of Arlington, Texas, tries for a gold medal in the women's finals. Some of the world's strongest men will be in Perth, Australia, hefting weights of over 700 pounds in the World's Powerlifting Championships. And we'll have a humorous look at sledding in the Bavarian Alps. Sports Journal continues its examination of violence in sports, focusing on violence on the playing field. Be with us next Sunday, 2:30 Eastern, 1:30 Central, and 3 o'clock on the West Coast. The LA Indoor Invitational. It's been a sensational meet here in Long Beach, California. A world record by Houston McTeer in the 60 meters, another by Herman Frazier in the 500 meters. Tully is still alive in the pole vault, and now Greg Joy at 7 feet 7 inches, going for Dwight Stone's world indoor record. Joy, a national hero in Canada, won their only track and field medal in Montreal. Stone's competitor turned analyst must have some anxious feelings as he assays Joy's chances.
There's an awful lot of difference between 7.4 and 7.7, however. It's a matter of doing a lot of things right. It's a lot more than 3 inches. It took me 64 attempts to make 7.7. So I know what the mental